Hi, this is Cora Stack again. This paper, actually, which is the previous editor, is getting a lot of attraction from EDU people from all over the world, California, Brazil, Australia, and Dublin are reading it. So I think I'll also I won't eliminate this, but I wasn't happy with my YouTube video on it. So let me just the take on it, I think, is slightly different to the other one. So let me just read it again. There'll obviously be repeats, but this one is called "Justice Denied is Freedom Denied: How Broken Legal Systems Silence Ordinary People." So the essence is the same, but there's a slight difference. So it's by Dr. Cora M. Stack, PhD, and right with the other one, I'm reading out of the paper now. It's edited with AI tools. So, justice denied is freedom denied. This is a big part of my vision in terms of, well, the other part is more the legal side, but this is more about the the living experience of this happening. So the other is offering solutions. So this is not just a slogan. It is the lived reality of millions of ordinary people in Ireland and across the world. Justice is supposed to be the safeguard of dignity, equality and accountability. It is meant to be the cornerstone of a functioning democracy, the mechanism by which citizens can challenge wrongdoing, correct harm and protect their families and communities. But when justice is inaccessible, unaffordable and captured by those with money or influence, freedom itself becomes an illusion. A society may look democratic on the surface, this is the point I'm making, but without real access to justice, citizens are reduced to spectators in their own democracy. The human cost of denial. Across societies, people are left isolated and powerless in the face of disputes with no neutral forum to resolve them. Neighbours fall into conflict without arbitration. Families fracture without mediation. Workers face dismissal without recourse. Now, I have mentioned the workplace relations and the positives and negatives about that in my video, just for balance. Communities carry grievances that never reach fair hearing. So I'm talking about this is the problem, and I'm saying we need an arbitration system at both the local, national, regional level, right throughout, to deal with this hidden injustice. The result is not just financial strain, but profound social isolation and loneliness. Those excluded from justice often withdraw, silences by processes they simply cannot navigate. What should be collective public questions of fairness become private burdens of despair. The emotional and financial toll is staggering. Families lose homes, parents lose children, elderly people face neglect without remedy. Victims of fraud or malpractice remain unprotected. Small businesses collapse under the weight of legal battles they cannot fund. Behind every case lies a story of dignity stripped away, as well as voices silenced. Yet the pattern is always the same. The legal system in practice seems to serve only two groups: the very poor, who may qualify for limited and overburdened legal aid; the very rich, who can afford teams of lawyers and endless litigation. But for the majority in between, the ordinary working and middle income people who carry society on their shoulders, just as little more than a word etched into the stone above courthouse doors. The systemic problem is referred to in the literature, which is called legal capture. The injustice is not accidental, it is systemic. Legal systems, not just in Ireland but worldwide, have been captured by the legal profession itself. Lawyers draft the legislation, judges interpret it, barristers profit from its complexity. Politicians, many of them lawyers by training, are reluctant to challenge the profession because to do so would be to challenge their own networks of privilege. The result is a closed circle of power where the rules are created, interpreted, and enforced by the very people who benefit from their complexity. Laws are designed to protect entrenched power, ensuring that the upper legal class remains in control. This creates a form of institutional illusion where citizens are told they have rights but cannot practically enforce them, eroding trust in law and, most importantly, democracy itself. Scholars of legal capture, and I'm stating here just for reference that if anybody wants to, Stuke and Grooms 2016 Pistor 2019, and Access to Justice, which is these are seminal papers or research by Capellelli and Garth and Abel. I was just mentioning there's an abelian group in mathematics, so I was mentioning the abelian group. There's an abelian. I doubt it's the same Abel. 1988, certainly not, 1978, have long warned that when the law becomes a tool for insiders rather than a safeguard for citizens, democracy is hollowed out from within. So then I go on to talk about something I've mentioned in the earlier work this morning, a new emancipation for the working person. Daniel O'Connell, the great Kerry-born parliamentarian. I'm a Kerry woman myself, very proud North Kerry woman with a lot of Kerry connections, and a huge amount of people in Kerry belong to me. Dedicated his life for fighting for the emancipations of Catholics. His struggle was one of justice, fairness, and recognition of dignity where it had long been denied. Today, we face a similar struggle, not necessarily for religious emancipation, but for the emancipation of the ordinary working person. Hard-working men and women who do their best every day, yet find themselves with very little left at the end of the month. They are taxed to the hilt, fund the very system that excludes them, and yet, when they need support or remedy, they are told they're entitled to nothing, even though recently we were hearing about horrific stories that normal, ordinary people are unable to afford to pay their electricity bills. And this is not just happening in Ireland, it's happening in Europe as well. This is the hidden injustice. A democracy without accessible justice is in fact no democracy at all. The working majority, the backbone of our economy and society, are being squeezed, silenced, and slowly stripped of both security and dignity. We must champion a new emancipation, one that restores fairness, lifts the weight of unjust burdens, and recognises the contribution of small and middle-income earners as the true foundation of the nation. Without this, we continue down a dangerous road where those who give the most receive the least in return. Why justice is absent from democratic debate. Justice rarely appears in mainstream political debate. Health, housing, education, climate change dominate headlines. But justice that underpins every other right, where is that? It remains in the shadows. The silence is telling. Without justice, citizens cannot afford housing rights, cannot challenge medical negligence, cannot hold employers and governments accountable, and cannot resolve disputes without very costly litigation. Without justice, promises about quality, dignity, or human rights remain empty. And when institutions are challenged, banks, corporations, or state agencies, they arrive in court lawyered up. Armies of soldiers and barristers, armies of solicitors, and barristers deploy loopholes, technicalities, and procedural delays. Ordinary people, often alone, do not understand what they have lost. They only know they have been silenced by a system stacked against them. Is it any wonder, given this what's going on? Is it any wonder? But they don't understand. They think there is justice. Not just Ireland, a global crisis. The erosion of justice is not just confined to Ireland. Let's look at the comparisons. In the UK, legal aid cuts have priced families out of family courts, while corporations continue to shield themselves with £1 million litigation teams. In the United States, critics argue that justice is effectively for sale, with plea bargaining, corporate lobbying and litigation costs leaving ordinary citizens with no meaningful recourse. In Europe, lawyers of EU and national legislation benefit those trained to interpret it, while ordinary citizens remain dependent on expensive legal services. Across jurisdictions, the same problems repeat: unaffordable legal fees, endless delays, incomprehensible procedures and laws written for insiders rather than citizens. As legal scholar Katharina Pister has shown in the Code of Capital 2019, the law itself has been repurposed as a tool to entrench wealth and power, as opposed to not to protect ordinary people. Similarly, research and social legal studies highlight how systems dominated by lawyers reproduce inequality than reduce it. That's Gart and Shinegold 2001, just if anybody wants a reference. So justice as freedom. Justice is not an abstract principle. It is freedom in action. Without justice, parents cannot protect their children. Without access, workers cannot hold employers accountable. Without justice, citizens cannot defend their livelihoods or homes. Without justice, communities cannot resolve disputes fairly. Without justice, people face isolation and loneliness in the absence of arbitration or remedy. A society that denies justice is simply not free. It may hold elections, wave flags and declare rights on paper, but if citizens cannot enforce these rights, democracy itself becomes conditional, partial and fragile. So my closing call to you tonight is the following: justice denied is freedom denied. I'm doing this because there's considerable interest in this from the international community, and they're saying AD are saying pile up more papers as if I was an AI producer myself, which I certainly am not. Write more papers because this one is getting so much, so many views, because I suppose there's a lot of papers up on that, and this seems to be attracting interest from all over the world, so it has to be important. So people maybe in Ireland should listen to me. So justice denied is freedom denied. Until societies confront the uncomfortable truth that broken legal systems designed by and for lawyers are silencing ordinary people and stripping them of their dignity from the working majority, democracy will remain hollow. It is time for a new emancipation, one that frees the ordinary working person, restores fairness and reclaims democracy from the people who sustain it every single day. Justice must belong to everyone, or it belongs to no one. So my name is Dr. Cora M. Stack, and I am the 2025 winner of the Ramanujan Memorial Award for Excellence in Academic Leadership, honouring visionary leadership and outstanding achievements in academia and education. And as I said in my previous video, just about good enough or well enough able to keep up with the brilliant Dr. Richard Price of academia.iu, who has a doctorate in the philosophy of perception from the University of Oxford, and is the CEO of academia.edu.